Hello and welcome to everyone. Uh, the first episode in this new year, coming after a gap of around 20 days because the last show that I did was on 31st December 2022. Then on the 6th, which was a Friday, it was my birthday, so I decided to take a leave. And last week I wasn't too well, so was very keen to do the show today. This show that I'm doing today is something that I wanted to do last week as well. Charan's already here. Hi, Charan. How are you? Uh, so it's this show is basically going to be about that what have been the biggest positives for the Indian cricket team from the white ball matches so far in this year. Primarily the Sri Lanka tour and the one ODI that has happened against New Zealand. So this discussion is mostly going to center around that. And yeah, so uh, primarily I wanted to talk about someone like Akshar Patel, whose T20 batting has been going up a notch consistently, and I believe that if he continues to do well, he could really challenge Ravindra Jadeja in the T20 setup. And I do feel that for a World T20 in West Indies, where the pitches are going to be slower, he probably is ahead in the pecking order and should be playing ahead of him. So that's about it. Then want to talk a little bit about Kuldeep, Shivam Mavi, Rahul Tripathi, and Shubman Gill as well. We'll get to it, but uh, waiting for a lot of you to come in and ask your questions. Exo is here. uh, do you think his question is, do you think Prasidh Krishna is still in contention for the ODI World Cup? Uh, I think we'll know this after the IPL because he was in contention until he got injured. He was with the Indian team in Test series as well. I think India were probably looking at him as someone like who could replace Ishant Sharma, but his injuries haven't helped him. He was named in the India squad versus New Zealand Day, but he got injured. He was with the Indian team in West Indies, and I think he played the ODIs in England, played the ODIs in Zimbabwe as well. But since then, he's been injured. So if he has a good IPL once again, who knows? Because I think now we won't see a lot of inclusions till the Australia ODI series. We'll only get to know post the IPL. So that's about it. Uh, this is a good question. Our Earth is best. Why Shaw not in ODI? Because there's no space. Someone like Ruturaj Gaikwad also got dropped after one game because there is literally no space in in the ODI team. At the top of the order, you have Rohit and Shubman there, who are the first choice openers. Then there's Ishan Kishan, who could open once one of them is not there. There's KL Rahul, who can open, who's an opening option. And I think, you know, if India ever want to look at a left-handed opening option, there's also someone like Rishabh Pant. So there is literally no space for an opener to come into the ODI squad right now. It's good that India have selected him in the T20 EI squad versus New Zealand, but it would be interesting to see if he gets a chance or not, because I don't think this team is going to drop someone like Shubman Gill from T20 Is just on the basis of 3 games, and especially the kind of form he's been in ODIs. I know we are mixing of formats a little bit, but it's something that we can't avoid happening, because eventually I do feel players and team management tend to look ODIs and or rather even all three formats as the same game. So I think Shubman Gill will still probably start versus New Zealand in the T20I series, but probably the third T20I maybe someone like Shaw gets a run, because Ruturaj Tripathi is also not played a lot, and he's also been in the squad. So I don't know. Um, Subodh Chauhan saying, I really hope Indian cricket moves on from KL Rahul after this year's World Cup. He's not present and not future as well, and super flop in much needed games. That's been the case in T20s for sure. But I don't think in ODIs his record is something that we can argue against. He has a very good record, especially while batting in the middle order, and he's done well. He had a very good innings against Sri Lanka in the second ODI as well as the first ODI. If he does well in the World Cup, why would you want to move on from him? Uh, he may not be, he may not be someone for the future from a decade from now, but he could still serve Indian cricket, I think, in the 2027 World Cup if he does well. So if he does well in the 2023 World Cup, I don't see a reason to move on from him, to be very honest. uh, Sridhar is asking, missed you during the hockey match yesterday. Thoughts? Sorry, Sridhar, I was actually traveling. I was actually in Bangalore, and I actually did a watch along this time from the studios of cricket.com. But I had my flight back. My flight got delayed, so I couldn't watch the game. But yes, my thoughts from the game is that India really need to do something about their penalty corner conversions. I know I'm digressing a little bit, but this is the question that I wanted to take. India need to do something about their penalty corner conversions. Harmanpreet has to fire. And I think the good thing for India is that someone like Akashdeep Singh was in great form yesterday. If Hardik is available, Hardik Singh, not Hardik Pandya, if Hardik Singh is available for the crossover game versus New Zealand, I do think that India should fancy themselves in that crossover game and go to the quarterfinals. From where on is, they'll probably need to step up once again. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I do think India should have beaten Wales far more comfortably than just a 4-2 margin. A year ahead of Pant in ODIs, given both are fit. Yes, I think a year at this point of time is ahead of Pant in ODIs, because let's not forget that Pant actually made a comeback into the ODI side in the 11 when Iyer got injured, and now Iyer is doing well. Unless Iyer starts failing till the time Pant is available and fit to play cricket, I think Iyer would be ahead. Iyer would probably have to fail 2 or 3 series, or probably even more, probably a stretch of 10, 15 games before there's a question over his place in the ODI 11. Shubham Sharma says in ODIs we need proper bowler, not like overrated Shardul. Secondly, Australia has left arm swing, left arm slow, off spin, leg spinner against which Indian team has nightmare in tests. Okay, I'll address the first part of the question. See, if we want India to bat more aggressively in ODIs, we have to understand that batting cannot finish at 7. And if you have Umran, Shami, and Siraj along with Chahal or Kuldeep, your batting will finish at 7. So you do need batting enforcement, and that has to come either in the form of Shardul at 8, or maybe India playing someone like Washington Sundar and Akshar Patel both, and one of them bats at 8, which means that India don't play a wrist spinner. Uh, because you need some batting at 8. So, which is the way that you want to go with? I think it will eventually come down to that. And Shardul has improved a little bit. Before the West Indies series, his bowling average was 42, if I'm not wrong, and now it's at around 32, 33. So he has improved. The problem is that he's not a death bowler, and if he's going to bowl at the death, he's going to struggle. The other issue is on flat pitches, he doesn't really have a lot of variation or the pace to make sure that he can create a difference. I think on pitches where there is some help available for the bowlers, India can play him at number 8 and bowl him up front when the ball is swinging. And on pitches where there is help, you actually do need extra batting. And on pitches which are absolutely flat, uh, there is, and 7 batters can do the job. That is where you can play someone like an Umran and drop Shardul. So it's a very fine balance. India will have to tread this line very carefully before they take a call on who's their number 8. uh, a lot of comments coming in. Very happy to see that. Subho Chavan's asking which innings you enjoyed, double hundred or Bracewell fireworks. I enjoyed Bracewell. I actually enjoyed the Gill double hundred a lot more because it was something that I didn't expect. The 5 sixes that he hit in the end, they were very Virat Kohli-esque. Just the way he held his shape and just timed those sixes. I mean, I was there on the watch along while that was happening, and I said that the first six that he hit to Blair Tickner, which was down to long on a shortest delivery, it was very similar to Virat Kohli's six to Haris Rauf. Just the difference was that in Virat Kohli's case, the pressure was far more, and obviously the ball could have bounced more because the pitch in Melbourne had a lot more bounce, and this is where the ball was stopping a little bit. And obviously there wasn't the same amount of pressure for sure, but it was still a very skillful shot. So I enjoyed that a lot more. While Bracewell's innings was going on, I was actually a little worried that okay, India might just lose it from a winning position, and that could be really embarrassing. But yeah, Bracewell played brilliantly, maneuvered the field brilliantly. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed Shubman Gill's innings a lot more. Ashwini Talks is asking, Gurkirat, who can be Hardik's backup all rounder for you? I don't think there is one. I think India will have to groom someone like Rishi Dhawan or maybe a Prerak Mankad and see how they do and start it with the shorter format and then bring them into the ODI format. I think for now, India will have to hope that Hardik does the job with the bat primarily, because at number 6, you need his batting a lot more than his bowling. And if he can give you 5-6 overs, uh, it's fine. You don't really need him to bowl 10 overs all the time. uh, See, you have to people have to realize that even Hardik, Hardik had to be invested a lot into before he started giving the returns he's giving. It's a very tough job being a pace bowling all rounder, and India really don't have a lot of options. So India will have to stick with him, and at the same time, uh, groom a few players who could do that job which Hardik is doing. Krishna Singh's asking who will be your wicketkeeper for Border Gavaskar Trophy. For me, it's straightforward. It's KS Bharat. I am a huge believer of following a process. He's been with the team for longer, and I don't think there's much to choose between KS Bharat and Shan Kishan when it comes to choosing who the better batter is. I think one has an average of 37, the other has an average of 38. So I'll go with KS Bharat. Gary V saying hi Gilly, hi Gary, hope you're doing well. Um, Subodh Chauhan's a question: why Sky is not getting success in ODI? He's such a great batter he is. I think the sample space is too low for us to say that he's not getting success. We have to understand that at number six, he has to probably play like a T20 batter more than an ODI batter, which will involve him taking far more risks. And sometimes those risks will come off, and sometimes they won't. I thought in Hyderabad he had started off well. He played a very good 30. Unfortunately, couldn't carry on. We'll probably have to give him a few more games before we actually say if he's not being successful in ODIs, or he's a failure. I think we have to wait. Just taking all the comments. Krishna Singh is asking, do you think KL is overhated and people forget his contribution in away test series wins and his impressive T20I record before? Yes, definitely. Uh, I think a lot is down to the comments that he says in press conferences, and then some of his own batting in IPL where he's just lagged intent. And then when he's not scored runs in important games, I think people are now getting frustrated with him. But I do think that in that frustration people lose perspective, and they sort of criticize him for anything and everything. I won't be surprised if the next thing that KL is criticized for is pollution in Delhi, or climate change, or something else with which KL has nothing to do with. I think people also think that he's not smart, but I think he has a very calm brain. The only thing that I feel he lacks is, even when he's captaining the team, is that sometimes he lacks conviction. I think it's majorly a confidence issue, and you sometimes see him being very tentative in matches where there is some pressure on him. I don't think he lacks the skill, or I don't think that he doesn't have the brains. I just think that it's more or less a confidence issue with him, which probably doesn't allow the best to come out from him, from his side in important games. But yes, I think people are sometimes just too harsh on him, to be very honest. Do you think Rohit Sharma should bat in place of Ishan and Gill should open? Uh, No, I had this suggestion for Virat Kohli because I know Virat Kohli is someone whose game relies on rotating the strike, and he can take singles while coming in at number four. But I don't think Rohit's game is particularly that. If he comes out to bat at number four with five fielders inside the circle, I do think that Rohit will struggle to rotate the strike. And on if the ball is softer and spinners are in operation, it could get difficult for Rohit. Uh, so yeah, and I also think that Rohit's a better player of pace bowling up front than Ishan Kishan, to be very honest. I do think that Ishan's more suited to take on spin bowling as opposed to Rohit. So the change that I'm okay with is Ishan batting at three and Kohli batting at four, but I really don't want to shift Rohit to four, because I don't think at this point of time Rohit will be able to score that many runs that he can do while opening. Uh, Batting at four is a little unfair on Ishan Kishan, which I agree, but it is what it is, which is why I said that uh, maybe someone like Kohli could bat at four. I'm sorry, my phone rang. I couldn't put it on silent. But yeah, I'll take that phone call later. Ashwini Talks is asking, what is the key battle for you between India versus Australia? I think one important battle is obviously Lion versus Pujara. Uh, the other important battle is between the Australian pace bowlers who will open the bowling versus the Indian openers. Now I don't know who do India open with, whether they'll be opening with Rohit or KL, or Rohit or Gill. That is another thing. If Gill opens and he survives the opening burst, I think it would do India a lot of benefit, because then he has the capability of taking on Lathan Lyon and putting him off his lines. Uh, I'm not so sure if KL would be that player. Also, I do believe that in your top four, you do need one stroke maker, and I think Gill can probably be that player who can, just if he gets his eye in, he can probably take Nathan Lyon out of the attack. I don't think KL Rahul will be looking to bat that way. The other important battle is obviously going to be the batting of Jadeja, Akshar, and Ashwin, and I think all three of them will start if all three of them are available, because when they come out to bat, the ball's gone softer, and it becomes very difficult to dismiss them. The SG ball has been going softer, and both Virat and Ashwin have complained about it. So if these three among them can always add 100 runs, and 100 runs individually, and like all three of them adding 100 runs, or probably 150 runs in partnerships, I think that will be important. And obviously, Akshar Patel's bowling. I think Akshar Patel versus Steve Smith, and maybe Labuschagne is going to be a very key battle. Akshar is not the kind of bowler who's very easy to sweep, given the trajectory that he bowls at, and he's not the kind of bowler who's against who you can easily use your feet, and he's the quickest of all three. So uh, for me, Akshar Patel's going to be a, like, how Australian batters play Akshar Patel, right? Because I don't think they have played him in test matches. They've played all three of Kuldeep, Ashwin, and Jadeja, but they haven't played Akshar Patel. So for me, Akshar Patel versus the Australian batters is obviously going to be a key battle. And then, how do Indian pacers bowl with the old ball when the ball is reverse swinging? It would be tough for India to pick, I think, uh, between two of Shami, Siraj, and Umesh. I'd probably go with Umesh and Siraj at this point of time. But if India go with Shami, I'll understand that call as well. It's just the personal preference that I'll go with Umesh and Siraj, because Siraj is bowling brilliantly, and I don't think it's easier to leave him out. Umesh's record in India is brilliant. Shami just looks a little rusty, so I don't know. It's a very tough call to make. Exploit is saying Shardul isn't a Cummings or an Archer for our batters. Okay, we have someone with a hit in. Good point. But he's the best that India have right now. So at least, even if he can't hit those sixes like Cummings or Archer, he can at least hold one end up, and he's shown that in ODIs. And he's the best that India have as a number eight, unless they play, like I said, Washington Sundar at eight or Akshar Patel at eight. If both of them play. Hardik hasn't really performed in ODI so far, neither has Shami. So should we still keep playing him, considering the X factor and balance he provides, even if he doesn't? I I don't see any other option for India but to play Hardik, because, like I said, I don't think there is anyone else who can replace him and can provide the kind of balance that he can. And like I said, India would have to hope that he does well. As far as Shami is concerned, his death bowling has always been under the scanner. Last game, I actually dug up a stat, and his economy rate while bowling in the last 15 overs in an ODI is 7.51. And do people do talk about him being the fastest 200 wickets, or probably it's 150 wickets, or his good strike rate, him being a wicket taker. But out of his 156 ODI wickets, 86 of them have come in the last 15 overs. So and 46 of them in the last five. So there's a bit of uh, there is a bit of some context to these numbers, which sometimes can go missing. And yes, I do feel if Shami doesn't really improve on his death bowling, then Siraj should be India's second pacer in ODIs after Jasprit Bumrah. I don't think that Deepak Chahar's playing enough cricket for him to be even in consideration. I don't remember the last time Deepak Chahar played 3 games on the trot. So I think at this point of time it's only Shardul Thakur who's in consideration, because Deepak Chahar just gets injured, and I don't think he's been bowling 10 overs consistently. But I do feel that on a skill front he is better, but you can't do anything about that skill if a player is getting injured consistently and constantly. Talk about Siraj and Kuldeep. Okay, but what do you want me to talk about? I've already spoken about Siraj. As far as Kuldeep's concerned, I'm quite happy with the way he's bowling. I Like I've said multiple times, if batters are not picking him off the hand, then he could be a really a handful bowler on any pitch. But if batters start picking him from the hand, then how he bowls is something that I am interested in seeing. I don't think Bangladesh bowlers were picking him off out of the hand when he played that first test in Dhaka, or was it Chattogram? In the first test in Chattogram, sorry. Uh, so and I don't think New Zealand picked him either from the hand. Don't think Sri Lanka picked him either from the hand. Like how he's been bowling, how he's been going, because if he can give wickets to India in the middle overs, nothing like it. I do think so, because he's batted well in 3 out of 4 ODIs that India have played in the new year. So he batted really well in the first ODI. He was batting well in in the third ODI as well. Hopefully he scores a big one soon. Why not Indian team consider Washi as a test opener? By that we have a left-hand opener who have a good Nalse hasn't. Uh, I don't think Washington has opened a lot. If we just look at some numbers, or uh, his uh, his first class numbers, let's just look at his first class numbers and then try and address this question. So Washington Sundar's average in Test cricket is 66.25. If we actually try remove those numbers, I think his average might be around 40. But what we have to realize is that his average or his batting numbers have been when he's batted at lower down the order. A factor there is that bowlers are tired. When bowlers are fresh, it's a completely different job to play that bowling than when the ball's moving a lot more or playing the new ball. I do think that he has a lot of batting talent and batting potential, and I do think that in the future he could be India's number 5, given how well he plays pace bowling. And uh, if we actually think about it, his first 2 tests came in very extreme conditions. He batted well in Gabba, which is supposed to be a pitch where pacers actually do well, and then he batted well in Chepauk, where spinners do well. So I think there's a lot of batting talent in Washington Sundar, but moving him as an opener may not be the best choice when you have people who have been doing well as an opener. There's Avimanyu Iswaran, who's been a part of the team. Maybe his chance is due at some point of time. Uh, but yeah, I think opening might just be a little too much. It's an idea that I think India can sometime try, but I think they're not going to try it out in a series such as the Border Gavaskar Trophy. Maybe if he does well and open as an opener in India A colors, or for India A or for Tamil Nadu, that is when I think teams can look at it. But I don't think it's I think it's too radical for any team to try out at the international level straight away, because he's not even opening in white ball or in T20s. So you have to do that first before you start getting considered as a test opener. But yes, there is a lot of batting potential in him. I do see him as a future number 4 or a number 5 at some point of time. I think Virat's definitely India's best pace hitter, but there are a few others as well. I think Aiden Markram's too very good. I think someone like Mitchell Marsh is very good when it comes to hitting pace. Robin Powell, when he's on song, is very good against hitting pace, because these guys not only have the shots, but they also have the power to hit those shots. Josh Butler is amazing against pace. There are quite a few players who I think might be in that race. David Miller's brilliant. I just forgot. I don't know how I missed his name. Miller's brilliant against pace. Trying to think of some other names. Finn Allen, but he's yet to prove himself. There are Glenn Phillips is quite good. So there are players who are good, but I think yeah, for India he's the best pace hitter. Uh, even Sky has has an amazing range against pace. So there are players who can hit pace bowling well. Shimron Hetmeyer did very well. He hit pace very well. So for India, Virat might be the best pace hitter, but there are a few batters there who can do well. So yeah, why Rohit struggling to hit spinner? He's still an XA. I don't think. I think at times Rohit struggles to pick the ball from the hand, and his struggles have been far more older than Virat struggles, because Virat started to struggle against spin post 2019. Rohit was struggling against spin, especially against leg spin even in 2017, 2018. I remember him getting out to Shadab Khan in that Asia Cup that happened in UAE. So I just think it's a case of not picking the ball from the hand and sometimes not reading the trajectory that is there. I agree to this. I think Arshdeep got dropped because again there is no space. There's definitely no space, and India do feel that Umran's pace is a bigger differential than Arshdeep's left arm swing. Also, Arshdeep doesn't have the pace to be a middle overs bowler, and in Shami, Siraj, Shardul, Bumrah, you have enough bowlers who can bowl well up at the front. So Arshdeep, I don't think is a middle overs bowler yet in ODIs. He can bowl up front and he can bowl well at the death. But I think India want to, bowl him more and try and work on his issue of no balls in T20s first before they try him out in ODIs. And at this point of time, I don't think there's enough space for Arshdeep Singh, unfortunately. Uh, Gill फिर से करेगा dominate Stark को. Well, Stark may not be playing the first test. I think Pat Cummins has said that. So you'll probably have to wait that. Probably the second test. And the second test will actually be Chiteshwar Pujara's 100th test, given if he plays the first test in Nagpur and then the second test in Delhi. Uh, if someone's going to ask me that will I be going to that test match in Delhi, I'm not so sure. Going to Kotla is something that I don't really look forward to. How do you think India would handle Akshar Patel in ODIs once Jadeja is back? It's a very interesting one because Jadeja's bowling hasn't been great in white ball. He has a strike rate of 62 and an average of 57, 59 in ODIs post the ODI World Cup. But his batting against pace has been quite well. I think I'm not so sure if Jadeja would be available for the Australia ODIs that just happened. Okay, that's anyway after the test matches. Uh, I think we'll have to see how Jadeja plays in the test matches, and after that, India will probably take a call if they want to include Jadeja in the ODIs versus Australia or not. Firstly, they'll have to hope that Jadeja gets fit for the first two tests, because his selection in the squad is on the fact is considering if he'll be fit in time. If he's not fit in time, then I don't know. But yeah, I think it's a very tricky one. I think in T20s it's quite straightforward that India should play Akshar Patel, because India probably need his bowling a lot more, and Jadeja doesn't really offer a lot more with the more than with the ball than what Akshar does. That is something that might be even argued even in ODIs, but I think in ODIs India might still stick with Jadeja given his batting. But it's a very tricky one. Personally, I think it has to be a call which is more conditions dependent than anything else. If you have a pitch which is probably more oriented to spin bowling, then I think it makes sense to play Akshar Patel given how he bats well against spin and he's a better spinner. But if it's a pitch which is flatter and probably has a bit more pace, then maybe Ravindra Jadeja can play. But then Jadeja's bowling on that pitch can actually be a disadvantage to the team. It's a very difficult one to answer. There is no straightforward answer to this, quite honestly. Off topic from India's discussion, but Markram has got 5 wickets in 10 overs in SA T20. Even Jansen has finished 3 games in a row now coming. Surely we can call them all rounders now. Uh, I think Markram was being considered as a batting all rounder given how much he was bowling for South Africa. I remember in Sri Lanka in one series where South Africa were there, Markram was even bowling in the power play in T20s. So Markram's been a decent bowler or a decent part timer for sure. As far as Janssen is concerned, I saw his innings. I caught the highlights when He scored that 66 of 27 versus MI Cape Town, and some of the sixes that he hit, my word, it was actually quite good. So not so sure if we can call Jansen a all-rounder just yet. Probably will have to wait for a few more games and see how he does with the bat in some different conditions. But yes, Markram is always looked at as a batting all-rounder, I believe, in T20s, and in ODIs as well. He does do a fair bit of bowling, at least 4 to 5 overs. He does a similar job. What he fills the balance for South Africa's team, just like how Maxwell does for Australia. So Markram's actually improved a lot as a bowler. Uh, Shami's outdated in white ball cricket. When this team management will understand. See, it's difficult to, again, like I keep saying, it's we do talk about not mixing formats, but it becomes difficult to not mix it when you see Shami bowl the way that he does in test matches with the upright seam. I think they still want to stick with him given the value that he provides with wicket taking with the new ball and probably in the middle overs. Uh, Maybe he'll still make the squad of the World Cup, but I'm not so sure of the first 11. अब ज़रूरत ही नहीं है शमी की वाइट बॉल में अर्शदीप उमरान सिराज बुमराह बेस्ट अटैक. I think we have to see a lot more of Arshdeep before we sort of replace Shami with Arshdeep. Uh, I'll hold my horses on that. Paji, your thoughts on the rise of Siraj in ODIs? Well, he's been brilliant. I mean, he's actually solved an issue for India that India was struggling with up till last year, wherein India were just not taking. I remember digging up a stat when India were playing South Africa in ODIs in South Africa last year. I think it was in January. uh, India had the worst economy rate and worst average in the power play from the World Cup till then. They were just not getting wickets in the power play, and Siraj has actually plugged that hole. And on any other day, a 4 for 46 spell, let alone in a game that is a 7 RPO game where a team had to chase 350 runs, uh, he would have been a man of the match. But for Gill's special knock, so like I said, Siraj, I think after this series might just be ahead of Shami in the order. He might just be the second pacer in ODIs ahead of Shami, given how he's been bowling well at the death too. He's been very, very consistent, and at this point of time, his bowling form in ODIs comes as a blessing for India. Make no mistake about it. Before I take more questions, I just want to ask all of you who've been watching this show that if you like it, please press the like button and do share it with your friends and family, whosoever you think is a cricket fan. And do subscribe to the cricket.com channel as well. We have a lot of cricket content coming up. Tomorrow, we'll be doing a watch along for the ODA as well. First 10 overs of the first innings, then the last 10 overs and the first 10 overs, and then coming up towards the end of the game. So, do subscribe to cricket.com. I'm sure you would really not uh, you'll not regret it for sure. What's the difference between the Chahal for India and for RRRCB? In terms of bowling, not much. He's operating in with the similar kind of trajectory and everything. At the international level, batters have sorted him out a lot more, and they wait for the hittable deliveries, which sometimes batters at the IPL level do not. Is Ravi Bishnoi out of the Indian setup completely? I thought he had a great future and can replace Chahal. Also, what about it? Why Bishnoi is out is something that I have not been able to understand, and I have myself been raising the point that Bishnoi needs to be in the T20 setup ahead of Chahal, which is something that I really don't understand. As far as Hooda is concerned, he can be one of backup players at number 5 6, can also give the bowling option, but I think at this point of time India feel that he's surplus to their requirements, so maybe he'll have to wait his chances. Paji, why it happens all bowling strategies apply only for defensive batting techniques when batsman goes attacking, no plan works? No, I'm not so sure about that. uh, it just so happens that sometimes good bowlers are always able to stop batters who are on a rampage. They may not be able to dismiss the batter, but they are able to stop that batter. Sometimes when batsmen are in that zone where they're hitting everything, they are just they are batting in such a way that all their premeditation is bearing fruit. They know where the ball's going to come in. They are reading the field well, and they are able to anticipate everything so well that whatever you try doesn't seem to work. So and I think when batters are attacking and putting bowlers under pressure, the the first thought is to make sure that runs are not scored. Dismissing the batter comes later, because when you want to dismiss a batter at that point of time, there's also a risk of conceding more runs. So it just so happens, and it's very natural, when you are being put under pressure, your first thought is to make sure that runs don't leak. So when you go on the defensive, then it also becomes difficult to get the batter out. It's very complex. But like I said, sometimes when batters are just in the kind of mode that Bracewell was in that game, it just becomes very difficult to dismiss him. What you try and do is you try and make sure that you stop the runs first, so that you can then later on induce a false edge. And what India were trying to do with Michael Bracewell was they were trying to bowl wide outside his off stump and make him fetch the ball towards the longer boundary on the leg side, or hit it through the offside, while having a packed field in the circle on the offside. So because anywhere and everywhere else he was just nailing the boundaries, he was maneuvering the field so well that he was hitting balls outside off stump or on the stumps over fine leg. When you're doing that, I don't think as a bowler sometimes you can do much. And like I said, if there was maybe Jasprit Bumrah, he would have been another option who would have tried to go short at Bracewell and not allowed him to swing that. And that is something which Shami didn't do. That is something which Siraj tried to do a lot, and Siraj actually got 3 wickets through bouncers in that game. So it also comes down to a lot of intelligence of the bowler as well. Good intelligent bowlers will also make sure that even if a batter is batting very well and it's his day, they will still not concede the amount of runs which any other average bowler would do. You would have seen this with Rashid as well. You would have seen this with Sunil Narayan. And then the smartness of the batter comes in place, where they realize that okay, a bowler is going well, they'll probably just play him out and attack the other bowlers. So it's a game of the mind more than game of a bat and ball. So it just comes down to that. And you know to answer your question, you'll have to be more specific with examples, but I'm just trying to provide you a general picture from my understanding. Exploit is saying Kuldeep's pace hike has been a game changer. To be honest, he's beating the batter for pace when they are trying to nudge him off the back foot. I'm not so sure. I think he has definitely increased his pace. Earlier, he used to operate, I think before 2019, he used to operate within the 75 to 80 or at max 85 kmph range. Now he's moved to 90, 95 kilometer per hour, but I still don't think that pace is enough to beat the batters on the back foot. I think when he beats them on the back foot, it's when the ball has turned a lot more, or they've played the wrong line. I still think that if he tries to go beyond 95 kilometers per hour, he will lose his control. And I also think that there's a physical limitation for both Kuldeep and Chahal to increase their pace because of how their body structure is. Both of them aren't the tallest, both of them aren't the strongest. So they'll have to work with those limitations. On the other hand, someone like Washington Sundar actually can bowl 105 kilometers plus, and he's shown that. But now he started to bowl slower to try and extract more turn. In T20s, he can actually bowl quite faster and quite quicker to make sure that batters don't come after him. It can matter. It will matter, because if someone gets injured or loses form, then someone who's done well in the IPL can actually stake a claim to be in the Indian ODI side. Should India look to promote Sundar if both Santner and Sodhi are bowling in tandem? How are his numbers against spinners? Also, how much can he be trusted with the ball when two right-handers are batting? Good question. I think India can look to promote them, but in Gill and I think in Surya Kumar Yadav, they do have good right-handed batters against left-arm spin and leg spin. But I do think they can look to promote him. But if it was Akshar Patel, I would have, they would have been more comfortable, because I feel Akshar is a better batter against spin than what Sundar is. But it is something that they can look at. And how much can he trusted be with the ball when two right-handers are batting? Uh, I think he's been bowling well, and I think he can be trusted with it. Before the third ODI versus Sri Lanka, he had an average of 24 with the ball in ODIs and a strike rate of 30. As far as his numbers against spinners are concerned, I don't think that in ODIs he's batted as much for us to get a get a definitive answer. Uh, I'm speaking from what I have seen and from in T20s. I do think he has the game, and I do think he has actually worked on his power game as well. Where I do feel he lacks a little bit is probably some shots on the back foot. But I saw a few clips where he was actually working on that with Rahul Dravid. So if it was Akshar, it was far more easier call. But I think with Sundar, they'll probably may not be as comfortable. Sanjay Bharti Sarvanan says, I thought this World Cup Bumrah and Arshdeep are important bowlers for India, considering Arshdeep is left arm, but Siraj performance makes sure that not happening. Happy for him. Well, yeah, I think Arshdeep has to do a lot better yet, and has to play a lot more long format cricket before he can stake a claim to be in the ODI squad. And I just hope that he works on his no ball issues in T20s. Uh, no, and Sridhar, I would request you to only send the comment once. I will look at your comments. Sending 6 or 7 of them again and again doesn't really help. Uh, Prashant Agarwal saying, as I told you in earlier session too, that Siraj has become two best bowler for India after Bumrah. Correct. Don't you think India should go with the strategy of going with three spinners playing Sundar at 8? That will also increase batting depth and give us by making. Uh, that's something that I do feel will happen on few pitches. Like if you're playing in Chepauk, or if you're playing in say Ahmedabad, maybe you can do that on pitches which are sticky. But I don't think it's something that India can do at every pitch. Because if India go in with three spinners, then their third pacer is Hardik Pandya, and I'm not sure of that being a great tactic, to be very honest. So uh, yeah, I mean, either if India go with Sundar at 8, it means either one pacer is short or India don't play a spinner in most cases, unless it's a Chepauk pitch or another slow wicket somewhere. So it's difficult because I don't think Hardik can be your third pacer on decent ODI pitches where there might be some pace on offer or some bounce on offer for bowlers. Why not try bowl by batsman, but we needed as a talent who can. Uh, I sorry, you'll have to send this comment once again. I really didn't understand what you meant. I'm sorry. Uh, Naman Garg is saying, I have lost trust on Rohit Sharma's captaincy. Naman, I'd like to know why would you say that? Because I thought in the last game, his move to bowl out Siraj earlier than waiting till the last over was a good one, because he was trying to create a bigger cushion for his lesser bowlers, and that helped. And the fact that Siraj also got the wicket of Satner really helped. If Siraj would have not come in and bowled in that 46th over, or bowled his overs earlier, maybe match would have been over even before Siraj had bowled out his quota. So I thought Rohit actually did well as the captain. Why isn't India making Shreyas Iyer bowl more? India could benefit if Shreyas improves his bowling by World Cup time. It can also open up a spot to try Sky or Samsung in that number 6 spot as a hitter. Uh, I think maybe because Shreyas got injured in his shoulder and dislocated his shoulder in 2021, I think that might be a factor somewhere. See, the onus to bowl a lot more also has to come from the player. If the player is not comfortable with his bowling, then I don't think the management can do that, do much. If player feels some discomfort in the shoulder, or feels that he will injure his shoulder, uh, I don't think it's worth making him bowl more. It also has to come from the player. Who can be the openers for India in T20s? Ishan isn't reliable against good fast bowling. For me, I think he'll probably get a few more games, a couple of games more. Uh, I think one opener should be Ruturaj and the other should be Prithvi Shaw. Those are my openers for now. But I'd like Ishan to still get a couple of games more before India move on from him. Yes, it is concerning because you'd expect, but I think what happened was that Bracewell played the kind of innings which I don't think anyone would have expected, and I don't think especially the kind of shots that he was playing. I don't think Indian bowlers had any answers. What also had happened was that pitch became easier to bat, but yes, India should have done better. And I think there has to be some scrutiny on Mohammad Shami's bowling and who India's third pacer is, especially Shami's bowling after the you know after he's bowled his first spell with the new ball, because he's really expensive in the last 3 overs. In that game where Shanaka scored a century, he went for I think 60 plus runs in his 9 overs. So his bowling at the death is an issue. Why do we persist with Shardul who can't bowl at the death? Because, like I said, he offers batting, and there is no other bowler who can. Probably Washington Sundar can, but then you'll have to drop out, Kuldeep Yadav. There is no other pacer who can bat as well as Shardul at 8. Don't you think lack of batting ability in our tailors makes it important for us to have someone who can bat at number one in white ball cricket? It is, which is why Shardul gets the number of opportunity that he has. It's quite simple. Had Sky been an Englishman and had the exact same record as he has now, would England have him in their ODI team? They could have even have him in the Test team because they don't have conventional Test match batters. See, it's not always fair to have these comparisons because the player pool and the quality of that player pool differs from country to country. Uh, Someone like Dhananjay De Silva, I don't think he would have ever gotten to play for the number of ODIs that he's played for Sri Lanka, that he would have been able to play those many ODIs for India, because he averages just 26 in ODIs. And I do think that he doesn't do justice to his batting talent, because he averages 36, 37 with the bat in test matches. So it's not always fair. In fact, just recently, I found out that Mahela Jayawardene had scored 12,000 odd runs at an average of 33. I'm just checking that number once again. So it's not always fair to do these comparisons because the player pools are vastly different, uh, and the objective is to always select the best player possible for the team. So uh, maybe they would have had him, maybe they wouldn't have had him. It all comes down to the kind of batters that you have in the pipeline, and India want to try out Surya Kumar Yadav because he's been in brilliant touch in T20s. And I know people will say that there isn't a need to mix formats, but at the end of the day it is the same game and it's still white ball. So maybe, and in ODIs in the middle order you have only four fielders inside the circle as opposed to five. Sorry, you have five fielders inside the circle as opposed to four in T20. So the chances of him batting aggressively and succeeding are a lot more if you just think from that point of view. So it's that. Coming back to Mahela Jayawardene and his numbers, so he had 12,650 runs at an average of 33.37, and he played 440 ODIs for Sri Lanka. Now, I don't think any Indian batter would have played these many ODIs if they had averaged below 35, no matter what the era is, and especially the era in which Jayawardene batted. So it all comes down to the kind of player pool that a team has. It's never fair, I think, to do these comparisons because it's just difficult. Someone like a Rehan Ahmed wouldn't have debuted so early for India because India do have spinners in the pipeline, which England didn't. So it's about that. Ashwin for World Cup 23, I don't think so. I think confidence has been lost in him completely after the World T20. Oh, that's a great find. That's absolutely a brilliant find. Thank you, Exploit. It's something that I didn't realize. If ICT is going to play an anchor as an opener in T20s, I think Shreyas is much better option than all others. His issues against pace bowling are something that I think have now been telecasted all over the world and telegraphed all over the world. So it's not going to happen. And I think they've been playing Shubman Gill. You're clearly referring to him. The good thing about Shubman Gill is that his power play, his strike rate actually shoots up after the power play. He needs to work on his power play game, and he does have the skill to do that. I think with Shreyas, they probably think that his game against pace is a huge concern, and that is why they're not selecting him. For the first time in many years, India will be playing a World Cup and will not be favorites. No wonder sponsors are leaving the team left and right. Interesting. I think India is still India will still probably among the top three favorites, if not the top favorite. And see, uh, people need to understand and realize that if a sponsor is not going to make money from the Indian team, I don't think they can make any money from any cricketing team, because this is one team that has the largest fan base. So if you're not going to make money from the Indian team, you're not going to make money from any other cricket team. That is for sure. That is something that I think I can say with some amount of confidence. If Dhawan scores 600 plus with 150 strike rate in IPL, can he make a comeback? He'll certainly have a shot at comeback, but 600 runs with a strike rate of 150 I think it's just it might just be too difficult. Even if he does it at 140, I think it would be some feat. Mahela has least 100 conversions too. He has some 19 ODI 20 tons. Just checking it. Yes, 77 50s and 1900s are basically a conversion rate of 20%. So yes, that's a conversion rate issue as well. Shouldn't Washi bat above Hardik? Why should newcomers play a difficult role? I agree, newcomers should not be having a difficult role, but I do think that at this point of time, Hardik's hitting game against pace has gone down, and Washington Sundar does have a lot more range, and I think he has the skill to do well against pace bowling at the death. Well, that's another opinion that India are the favorites and England, Australia are also not balanced. Well, you heard it there. Uh, I've been on for 51 minutes, and I think there are no new more comments. Uh, we'll stay on for another 2-3 minutes before I wrap up this show. I wanted to talk about the I want to talk about. I've actually forgotten. I wanted to talk about the positives that India have had. I've discussed Siraj. I've discussed Kuldeep. I've discussed Akshar Patel. The other positive that I wanted to discuss was Shivam Mavi in the T20s. I thought he did really well. Uh, and we'll have to see how he does well against New Zealand. And the other positive that I think has been for India is Umran Malik and his control. I think his pace has really been a differential, and he's taken wickets quite frequently. It's just that he needs to work a little more on his control, and that would then really add a new dimension to that Indian side. And obviously Shubman Gill. I know a lot of people wanted Ishan Kishan to play after his double hundred in that first ODI, but Shubman Gill has now shown with back-to-back hundreds that why he's so skillful and why people have been terming him as the next big thing. So he's another big positive, and I think the good thing about his last 100 was that it wasn't a easy start for him. He was 13 of 22 and 22 of 35. From being 22 of 35 to completing 186 balls, that basically means that he struck at a strike rate of 150 for the next 50 balls. He scored 78 runs in the next 51 balls, and then his next 100 came in 60 balls, which basically means that he was batting at a strike rate of 166 and at a run rate of 10. So that tells you the quality of Shubman Gill. And I think it's a huge positive for India that he's not thrown his wicket away, because he's been guilty of throwing his wicket away while looking good and while looking settled. But his two back-to-back hundreds are a huge positive for India, that he actually has now been working on his conversion rate, which is so important in ODI cricket and cricket otherwise as well. Do you think Stokes will make comeback? I suppose you mean in ODI cricket. I feel that it might just be on the cards just before the World Cup, and I do feel it's his best format. I'm just taking. Who are your first choice death bowlers if everyone's fit? Uh, Bumrah and Siraj would be the two death bowlers for me, and the third pacer would range upon the conditions. Sometimes it could also be a spinner. In India, would you play three paces, including Hardik and Washi Akshar at 8 with Jadeja at 7? It will just come down to where the match is happening. If you are playing in Chepauk, then yes, maybe. If you're playing in Ahmedabad with the pitch being sticky, then maybe. But if you're playing in Wankhede, no. If you're playing in Eden Gardens, no. If you're playing in Chinnaswamy, I don't think so. So it will just come down to where is that match happening. Exploit is asking, can Imran bowl like Naseem Shah in the power play, at least generate that kind of movement both off the pitch and in the air, as they're both skiddy bowlers? Um, I don't think India will risk that because bowling in the power play requires far more control. With only two fielders outside, India do have a lot of options for the power play. I think we'll have to wait that for a season or two before Umran starts bowling in the power play. I think Australia, New Zealand, even South Africa are favorites considering our habit of choking in crucial matches. Sorry, but this is what I feel. No trust in this team in tournaments, even if it's in our home. I don't think India have choked, and I've addressed this point at large on quite a few occasions. I think post 2013, India have mostly been outplayed by the team who's been better on the day with conditions or etc. etc. Like I can take a case by case example in 2014, the kind of bowling that Sri Lanka did on that day was one of the best death bowling. India might have been the better side going into the tournament, but against that kind of a death bowling, you can't do much. In 2015 World Cup, I genuinely think India overperformed by not losing a game until the semi-final, and then they came across an Australian team which was favorites. So I don't think they choked. 2016 again, I don't think you have choked when apart from Virat Kohli you had no other batter who had scored even 100 runs in the tournament, and you came across a West Indies team on Wankhede day where you had to bat bowl second with Dew, who were just full of big hitters and just knew how to play T20s. They just outbatted you, especially hit when it came to hitting sixes. I think India only hit four sixes in that game, while West Indies had scored 11 sixes. So I don't think that was joke. 2017, uh, I think what people also need to understand is that for to choke, you need to be a position where you can win the game. 2017, India lost to Pakistan by 180 runs. It was completely being outplayed by the team. I don't think that was a choke. 2019 is the one loss that should hurt India the most because I do think India were the best balanced team on paper, probably second best after England, given the form that India were in. Shikhar Dhawan's injury didn't help, and everything aside, the conditions, New Zealand became the better team. But I do think that we used choking quite lightly, but India didn't really choke in a lot of these games. Adelaide as well. England were the better side, and once India lost the toss and had to bat first, I it was difficult to outbat England in those conditions in Adelaide. Maybe if that match was happening in Brisbane or Melbourne or Perth, maybe India had a chance, but not in Adelaide with those short square boundaries. So, and I said this on that day of the game as well, that if India do lose out to England, it would not be a choke, but England being the better side, and England were the better side. So that's what I feel. Uh, been on for 57 minutes. Uh, okay, Akshit, send your question. I'm sorry. I'll just wait for your question before I leave. Surya's here, my good friend Surya's here. I wanted to know your views on how important it is to train the best bowlers with redefined hitting since the best bowling combination can't be compromised. I'm not so sure if Shami comes in that best combination. Maybe Umran is there, but see, Bumrah's obviously worked on his batting, so it will be important to have your bowlers work on their batting. But it's not something that is going to happen overnight. People will need to have some patience, and more importantly, the team management will have to have patience. Uh, and that patience is the key. They'll probably have to set a time frame or a cutoff time that okay, we want to uh, play. Give these guys 3 months to work on their batting, or maybe 6 months, and then see. But people will have to be patient. It's not something that is going to happen overnight. uh Sahil Nagdev saying, can't believe India made it to semis with Umesh and Mohit Sharma. That's what I'm saying. In 2015, it was clearly India clearly overperformed 100%. Yes, exploit. That's what I'm saying. Losing in knockouts is not equal to choking. In fact, if you were to ask me, one of the major jokes of Indian cricket has been that was in 2016 when India were playing against Australia in an ODI in Canberra, if I'm not wrong. They had to chase some 330, 340 odd. Shikhar Dhawan and Virat Kohli were batting on 100 odd. India just needed to win, score some 70 odd runs in the last 10 overs, and then India collapsed from there on. Virat got out, Shikhar got out. India had Gurkirat Singh Maan playing that game. India had Rishi Dhawan playing that game. India had Ajinkya Rahane playing that game, and India just couldn't finish off that chase. And that happened to. I think it was that game where Kane Richardson took 5 wickets. That was one real choke. People need to understand what is a choke. Not losing in knockouts is not just choke. Sometimes team can just outplay you, and it will happen in the sport. Uh, okay. Our Earth is Best is saying it that was SCG. I'm not so sure. I think it might have been Canberra, but good that people are getting the point. Prashant, I've already addressed this. Please don't send it again and again. Thank you. Uh, so no more new comments, and with this I'll like to, okay, one last comment is coming. Who will win IPL 2023? Which is the strongest team according to you? I think Sunrise Hyderabad look quite good, but difficult to say if they'll win the IPL yet, because we are still 2 months away from the tournament. There could be a lot of developments in terms of who will be playing and who will not be playing, so I'll wait to make that prediction. And I'll also like to see what what would be the schedule and what would be the format. So I'll wait on that. Vikram saying thanks Gilly for answering our queries. Love your inputs and the show. Thank you so much, Vikram. Please do subscribe to the channel and like the show. Press the like button so that it shows up on your feed far more regularly. Uh, Prashant saying bye bye. Thank you, Prashant. Uh, Surya saying very true, that's where I hope it starts right away so that they are ready by the time the World Cup beckons. Very right. So it was great fun doing this show. Uh, I was doing this after 3 weeks, and this was the first show of 2023. Hopefully, a lot more to come in this year, and hopefully bigger audiences as well, and hopefully a lot of happiness for all of you who follow this beautiful game. And you know hopefully India do win all the big trophies that are there to be won. The Border Gavaskar Trophy, the World Cup, and your favorite team wins the IPL. I don't have any hopes from my favorite team, which is the Delhi Capitals, because I think they've done a very bad job at the auction. So that's all from me today. Like always, thanks to all of you for turning up in good numbers and trusting me with the ability to answer your questions. I hope it continues, and I hope that I also get better and watch a lot more cricket, and I'm able to answer your questions to the best of my abilities with even more thorough knowledge. That's something that I look forward to in this year. Wishing all of you a very very happy new year. Nannal Sepat is saying should do more frequently. Bhai, I'll definitely try that. I'll definitely try and do this every Friday. If there's a game on Friday, I'll try and do it on Saturday. But I'll definitely try and do it. Sagar Chandra saying you never reply to me. I'm sorry, Sagar. I'll in your question the next time, and I'll definitely. But just make sure that that question is something that I've not answered before. I'll definitely try and take your question. So on this note, I'd like to thank all of you and wish you a good night. Have a good weekend. Enjoy, and hopefully we look forward to a great game tomorrow. Thank you.